We just crossed $220,000 per month with my agency. Yes, the forgotten business model. And I wish I could tell you it was some breakthrough moment or a genius strategy that unlocked everything, but frankly, it wasn't. In fact, what got us here was genuinely boring. All we did was build a delivery system so predictable that any member of our team could run it without me. And we just kept running that same system over and over again without changing a single thing. You see, our team has managed now over $150 million in ad spend, and we've scaled clients from 50K a month in revenue past $1 million a month in revenue in just a few months' time. And that did not happen because we're smarter or we found some secret edge. It happened because our fulfillment looks exactly the same for every single client. So today, I'm going to break down how we build a delivery system boring enough to run without me, and how you can do the same in your agency so you can actually step back and let the business compound on its own. And I'm going to start with something that most agency owners get wrong about scaling. They think the ceiling is their skill, and that if they just get better at the actual service, learned more tactics, or stayed up later optimizing campaigns, they could handle more clients and make more money. And I've thought the same thing for a long time too. I was deep in accounts every single day, optimizing campaigns, jumping on client calls, and answering every Slack message personally. It's literally like having 30 bosses. And the revenue did go up, but my time disappeared. I was doing 30 to 50K months, but I could not step away for a single week without things falling apart. And that's when I realized the bottleneck was never the skill. It was that the skill lived inside my head and nowhere else. So the moment I got it out of my head and into a system that anyone on my team could follow, everything changed. And that system is boring, but it's like that on purpose. Because after running AdLab for 4 years, I realized that boring is what scales. So now when new e-commerce brands sign with us, they go through the exact same onboarding process as every client before them. Every step, every sequence, every timeline is identical to the one before it. We do not sit there reinventing the approach for every new account. Every brand that comes through the door gets the same audit, the same setup, the same campaign structure we have that already has proven to work. And yes, that may sound lazy until you realize we have refined that process across $150 million in ad spend. We already know what works, which campaign types perform for which situations, and exactly which structure scales for every niche. So why would we do it differently for client number 47 when we've already cracked it for client 12? This is the first layer of boring that most agency owners refuse to accept. They think every client needs a custom strategy because that's what they sold them on. Some tailored approach with a personalized game plan, but all that really means is you are starting from scratch every single time. And when your delivery depends entirely on whoever is building it, you cannot scale because that person has a limited number of hours and a limited number of energy, and both eventually run out. So when you standardize the onboarding and remove the dependency completely, any trained team member can take a new client from signed to live following the same playbook. And yes, my friends, that is boring, but boring onboarding is exactly how we bring on new clients without me touching a single thing. Now, getting a client live is one thing, but keeping the account performing month after month where most agency fails is another. The reason they mainly fail is because there's no rhythm to how they manage accounts. One week they're checking in on a client every day because something looks off. The next week they forget about the same account entirely because a different client is now on fire. Everything is reactive, and when fulfillment is reactive, quality is inconsistent, and inconsistent quality is what makes retention impossible. So we built what I call an optimization schedule. Essentially, it's just a calendar that tells the team exactly what to check and what action to take based on what they find. Every account gets the same level of attention on the same cadence, so nobody on the team is guessing what to focus on or waiting for me to tell them which account needs work. The schedule tells them. And because Google Ads is a platform where the levers you pull are largely the same across accounts, this works perfectly. Relocating budget, adjusting copy, testing new landing pages, pausing underperformers, scaling winners. You know, you're doing it on a set rhythm that keeps every single account healthy without anyone making judgment calls from scratch each time. So the checklist and cadence do not change and the actions stay exactly the same every single week. And that boring rhythm is what keeps our clients performing at a level where they stay and pay month after month. And this is where it all starts working together, because once you have standardized onboarding and have a fixed optimization scale, you actually have something that can be taught. When I was doing something custom for every client, training someone was a nightmare. I would have to sit with them for months, walking through my thinking, my instincts, my approach for every different scenario. But when the process is documented and the schedule is fixed, training becomes simple. I can take someone new, hand them SOPs, and within a couple of weeks, they are managing accounts at a top level, even though they barely have any skin in the game. And that's because they are following the system that already has years of mine and my team's experience baked into it. And that's the difference between running an agency that crosses its fingers to hire only A players versus an agency that depends on built and proven systems. When your agency depends on talent, you struggle to hire because you need people who already know everything walking through the door. But when your agency depends on systems, you can hire smart people or motivated people and make them great in a matter of weeks. And I would honestly say that hiring based on motivation and the willingness to work hard is a lot more important than talent. Once your team can deliver without you, you stop being the bottleneck. And this is when you actually go from an agency owner who works inside the business to someone who works on it, which might get boring at some point because you are not the hero saving accounts anymore. Now, you're just a person who built a machine that runs whether you show up or not. But that boring machine is exactly how I work 4 hours a day, while the agency does over 220K per month. Now, something else that most agency owners don't understand that keeps them back from scaling is your pricing is a direct reflection on how much you trust your own delivery. Because when your delivery is unpredictable, your price is defensive. You charge a flat $2,000, $3,000 a month because at least you know that money is coming in, even if results dip for a few weeks. And that may feel safe and it's fine at the start until you realize you're capping your own income potential because you simply don't trust your own fulfillment. And this is why I went the complete opposite direction. We charge a percentage of ad spend, which is tied to a ROAS minimum. So a client may come to us and they say, as long as you hit a 3 or 4 ROAS, you can spend as much money as you can, or as you want, or as you're able to. And the reason I can offer that without losing sleep is because our delivery runs exactly the same for every client. The onboarding, the campaign structure, the optimization schedule, all of it runs the same way that it did for the last 40 clients, which tells you that if you build a delivery system that gets great results once, you can systemize that process behind those results. You're going to get great results every single time because the system already proved itself that it works. And when you tie that to a performance model, that's where your revenue grows with theirs. You make significantly more money from every client without adding more work. Because you're not reinventing the wheel for every new account, you're just running the same proven machine and collecting a bigger check as it scales. And of course, there'll be nuances to this. There is some higher level thinking when it comes to running an account, but the fundamentals that you spend the most time on can easily be SOP'd and systemized. Then your team has the extra bandwidth to actually make the critical decisions that move an account and beat your competition. And the better the machine gets, the more money you make on every single client without doing a bunch of additional work. You just have to figure out that process once, and from that point, it keeps paying you more. I know this personally because we have taken clients from 50K a month in revenue to over $1 million while holding the exact same ROAS the entire time. And one client on that model can make you most than most agencies make from their entire roster. But none of that is possible if your delivery is inconsistent. If you do not trust your own fulfillment, you will never have the guts to tie your income to the results. You'll stay stuck charging small retainers and competing on price instead of performance. By the way, if you're an agency owner doing 10 to 50K a month and you know your delivery is a thing holding you back from charging more and scaling past that ceiling, I'm opening up a handful of spots to work with you directly on building this out. We'll go through your entire fulfillment back end, productize it, and build the systems around it. We'll even set it up so in future your team runs it without you. I'll leave a link in the description where you can check it out, because once all that's in place, something happens that most agency owners never expect. Clients stop leaving when your delivery is predictable and the results are consistent. They have no reason to. And every month a client stays longer is another month that you're stacking revenue instead of burning energy and potentially ad spend trying to replace it. Which brings me to the part that no agency owner actually prepares for. Because you did all the work that includes standardizing the onboarding, building the optimization schedule, training the team, and setting up the reporting, chances are your days are more boring than ever. You wake up, you check the daily summary, and you handle anything that needs your direct attention, And I guess that's it. At first, it honestly feels wrong, like you should be doing more, or like something must be broken if you're not putting out fires every single day. But that predictability is the entire point. It's kind of like what Mike Tyson said about sit-ups, where he only started counting when it started to hurt, because everything before that did not count. And it's the same, I guess, with your agency. The boring part is where the real counting starts, because that is when the compounding effect goes crazy. But most agency owners don't see it that way. They get to the point where nothing needs them anymore, and instead of letting it compound, they panic. They start thinking they need to launch a new service, add a new offer, or pivot to something they saw on Twitter last week, like maybe crypto. But when your days are quiet, your brain tells you that you are falling behind, and it's totally normal. And every single time you give in to that urge, you reset your compounding back to zero. All those boring systems you built stop working because you stopped letting them work. So please embrace boring. And I want to wrap up with this. Agency owners who break through to 100, 200, 300, 400, 500K a month are not the ones coming up with the best ideas every day. They just found something boring that works and they refuse to stop doing it. So if you're watching this and your business feels too quiet right now, you're thinking about switching things up because you're bored, don't. Let it compound, get better. And I promise the results will speak louder than any new idea ever could. Now, if you already know your delivery is inconsistent and your team depends on you for every decision, and you cannot step away without things breaking, that is exactly what we help other agency owners fix. We're taking on a small amount of agency owners to help one-on-one. We focus specifically on building the boring infrastructure that gets you out of the day-to-day and past those six-figure months. And we do that by making sure fulfillment is so dialed in that the client you have already will not want to go anywhere else. If that is where you are right now, I'll leave a link in the description where you can book a call and see if it makes sense to work together. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.